Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session about AI and what it means for the future of industries. Sorry for the minor technical issue. We're here today with Sami Atiya. Good morning, Sami.
I see you, Shai.
Thank you very much for joining us. Only 2 years ago, generative AI tools like ChatGPT burst onto the scene, created massive buzz, but also good amount of fears. Headlines predicted that AI and generative AI were going to take over jobs, revolutionize industries overnight, and maybe even outsmart us. But 2 years later, we are here today to try to maybe separate the hype from reality here with Sami today. It's going to be another conversation about AI, like we're hearing quite a lot recently. It's going to be a more nuanced and grounded conversation and perspective on what AI can actually mean for industries and where the true value of AI lies. So thank you very much, Sami, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Morning. Sami Atiya is president of ABB Robotics and Discrete automation business and executive committee member leading the development of AI solutions for ABB. Hi, Sami. I just want to remind everyone in our chat today, in the comments, feel free to put your comments, questions for Sami. We will try to address some of them at least throughout the session today, also in the end, or maybe afterwards. So feel free to do that. And I want to thank you again, Sami, for joining us today. Maybe a bit of introduction.
Yes, thank you very much, and it's great to be here with you. It's exciting times when we have, AI finally reached the public. But AI is not really new. I mean, I've been watching the ups and downs of AI since 30 years when I actually wrote my PhD on mobile robots and navigation.
It was 30 years ago.
Yeah, that was actually 30 years ago. And it was amazing that we made something work. So it was basically a robot with eyes that can navigate around.
Maybe we can show the image of that here on the screen from your presentation.
So, and it took, now 30 years to make it real. This year, we bought a company, a startup here in Zurich that actually exactly solved that problem, fully automated and at scale. So it makes you think, how long does it really take from a proof of concept to reality? And also for us today, when we see some of the trends, some of them might be hype and some of them might be reality. And how to differentiate between these two is part of what we need to do as companies and managers.
Definitely. And I want to maybe start by asking you, what has changed in the AI landscape? We're talking about the last 2 years, all of us kind of remember when ChatGPT was announced and we were first got a chance to experiment with it, with the public. Can you try to break for us the difference between, the actual breakthroughs and the hype around them?
Well, AI is not new. It started actually in the 1950s with a bunch of very smart people from MIT, met at Dartmouth. And at that time, they already said, if you have something that can compute, why not at the end make it think? And they were right about the content, but they were wrong a little bit about the timing. And since then, we have been seeing really ups and downs. And there's a term at MIT that called AI winters and summers. At the beginning, you have some technology, and then you have exaggerated expectations that fall down. At the beginning, the idea was you can code in a computer every single logic, like, when you have fever, you must have a flu. When you have fever, something else could happen. But, guess what? Over time, these systems just explode because they become too big. And the real breakthrough actually happened when researchers started using neural networks with the famous Jeff Hinton, who actually got the Nobel Prize on physics just a couple of weeks ago. And that was really the breakthrough. And it's really fundamental to understand that all AI systems today, most of them are built around the neural network. And that is basically hundreds and millions of neurons connected, similar to how our brain is structured. And these neurons can learn. Like our brain does by, teaching them, like a picture of the cat, and you repeat the picture, and somehow, the connections adjust, and it becomes smarter and really recognizes a cat. And that was the breakthrough. Now, 2 years ago, when ChatGPT was announced, it was based on what is called a transformer model. That's also based on top of the neural network, but it made it possible to bring in language into a neural network. And guess what? We are all, fascinated with our language, our history. Everything is coded with the language. And that's why suddenly AI is public and everybody's talking about it, although it was quite a while there. And we in ABB have been developing AI since more than 10 years in our products.
You brought us to today. So where do we stand with today with AI development?
Well, you have to distinguish between the classical AI, where we have already applications there, and they are in our systems, and you have the generative AI, where we are at the beginning, and we're seeing pilots, and now we are going into the phase of seeing how will the return of investment in industry be, and then we will see which one will last and which one will scale, and others might not be, at the expectations we had at the beginning.
Just trying to follow some of the conversation right now in the comments. There's a lot of people joining us this morning. We have Patrick from Switzerland. We have colleagues from Uganda. We're joining us, Singapore. Also Holland, Brazil, Nigeria. Great to see everyone. And really feel free to also ask some questions in the chat for Sami. So I think that you talked a bit about ABB. So what is our approach at ABB to development of AI technologies?
Well, we learned a lot in the past how to cope with really fast emerging technologies like 20 years ago digital and now AI. The essence is you have to make the projects real at the customer side. Either you have internal improvements, productivity, or they are relevant for our customers, and that was core. So we started 2 years ago an initiative where we collected all the projects that we have across the company, and we looked about more than 100 projects and platforms. And then we brought the teams together in terms of informing everybody what is going on. These numbers going up now to more than 250. And all the projects are really happening on the ground, either with a customer or internally for improvement in HR or finance and so on. And we have now a repository, so we know where the projects are, and we really feel that we are quite far ahead in the curve of implementation. And what we did is we said we're going to categorize the projects in either generative AI or non-generative, or it is under development, or is it real, or is just the future. So that's how we look at it, and you can see over time how the projects are actually evolving. And I'm quite happy to see the energy in the company from within, how to embrace new technologies and bring them into life.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's going to be a thought about a question about to come towards the end, but I'm kind of curious to hear from you because as someone who works for ABB, I can tell this is a company that really embraces or try to embrace into our day-to-day. Can you talk a bit about technologies that are implemented into our day-to-day work for employees?
Well, when we look at AI, we have several categories that we try to structure them. First one is insight generation out of unstructured data. A lot of data, and then AI gives you a summary of it. The other one, you optimize systems. The third one would be new skills that you cannot do without AI. And the fourth one, which is coming from generative AI, is interaction with a machine with natural language. So we just released today a press release from our colleagues in process automation. A great system is called Genix AI, Genix Analytics and AI. System that is able to retrieve information from large existing infrastructure systems using the sensor input, the controls, and then understand what this data means, and then predict, for example, failures of the machine. And now yesterday we announced that also we added a generative part with it. That means it can cope with natural language. So that's a real nice evolution of using AI for our own systems. The other one is our colleagues in electrification, where they have, for a building like this or even data centers, energy management is key to reduce the CO2 emissions and also the energy consumption per se. And they have a system that you can introduce. It's available today that monitors movement, humidity, weather forecast, and it actually adjusts the temperature and the input output in a way that reduces the energy consumption by 20%. So that's real AI living. And then you have the other examples where we introduce new skills, and that is fascinating in the robotics field, that we can now navigate a robot, like
Mhm.
the one that we talked about at the beginning,
Right.
where you put a robot in a room like this or a factory.
Mhm.
The robot will look around. We're using AI and then understand where am I, and then you put another robot in another place in the same factory. They
Mhm.
communicate and they basically make the map complete, and then they can navigate. So you can put something on the robot, move it from A to
Mhm.
B, fully autonomously, which is really a unique revolution that we
Mhm.
have just generated. Another great example is a robot that basically grabs, an object.
Mhm.
It used to be in the past in automotive that robots can work mainly in structured environments. I mean, I know exactly how this pen is structured. I can grab it and move it. But with AI, we put a camera on, and it trains over time, and it understands that I can grab this object even if I've never seen it before. We use it in apparels. We use it in e-commerce centers
Mhm.
where you can do 1,400 picks autonomously without human intervention in 1 single hour.
Mhm.
So these are all, really advancements
Any
that are
examples of
great.
like new skills that
Yeah,
different?
these would be skills that we
Right.
actually did not have before. Another great example of new skills is from our marine colleagues, where we're able to remotely connect to
Mhm.
ships out there to optimize basically the route of it, reduce the energy consumption, but also they use similar techniques to detect objects while navigating to help, the captain maneuver. It's similar to autonomous driving or the mobile robot, but on the sea.
Mhm.
So all of these applications show you that these are skills that we didn't have before, or we optimize, operations, and they are live, ready for purchase.
Mhm. I want to address one of the questions that I see here in the chat from Paul. And he's talking mostly about, says he's enjoying hearing from you about AI. And he's asking how can AI improve productivity in manufacturing and with the focus on new energy transition, maybe a bit about energy transition. You mentioned our solutions in the beginning, maybe just a bit more
Yes,
about that.
yes. I mean, in manufacturing, you can introduce basically more robots and more automation based on the AI. We started, automating automotive because a lot of it is structured. And then AI and robotics actually moved further into unstructured places, like, for example, parcel, grasping parcels, automating areas that, you have not seen before. Now we
Mhm.
use these mobile robots to navigate in logistics centers where there's a big need for moving parts. But because it's unstructured, the robot could not really cope with it. So AI is helping to overcome this, problem of everything needs to be coded in the
Mhm.
system. AI allows you to do more. So that's where we are advancing. And in other areas like in data centers where we building energy management, there we can reduce the energy by using AI technologies. And you see more and more of that.
Mhm.
Most of AI systems today are much better at predicting the weather than any systems we had before. And that's mainly pattern recognition and prediction.
What have been the key success factors and learning from maybe these AI initiatives so far?
Well, success factors were that we started with the customer. We are a decentralized organization, and we believe that the energy comes from within the company and not top down.
Mhm.
So we said the projects need to be close to our customer, adding value to our customer, or to an internal customer. It could be in HR, where our HR colleagues starting building chatbots, for example, to ask questions about things that you're interested in, or finance for forecasting or other areas. So be concrete and be close to the customers. The other one is don't have large projects that are alone somewhere in headquarter that will not see the life. It's important that we have smaller projects and that we learn and that we fail. Because it's a new technology, so you really don't know where this will end. So
Mhm.
the fail and allowing it to happen is important. Now we are in the stage that we have so many projects, and now we are seeing clusters. And with the help of our IS colleagues, we're making sure that we do these things together,
Mhm.
like chatbots, co-pilots, and so on. This is another learning. And one important thing was that we created a a team centrally that is made out of the teams that are in the field, so from the divisions and the business areas, and we did not create a central team. And these colleagues make sure that we educate, that we inform the teams. We have a portal where we have a lot of education material and so on to increase the the awareness and also the energy. One real great thing that we're doing that started with help of our AS colleagues is the hackathons, and we did several of them last year. This year we did one in India. A hackathon is basically you bring 300 people, 400 people virtually together, and they get through a creative process and they create new projects, all of them that could be implemented and become new AI projects. While we're doing that, we have a full day where we educate. We bring about 3,000 colleagues together, and we go through, what is AI, what kind of can you use it, and so on. So it's a great tool that we're using it across the company. We will do more, as we go.
Very, very interesting. I'm trying to gather some questions from people, but maybe before that, I want to address the AI is going to take our jobs element to it. And I think that this is something that's been big part of the conversation about AI. I'm just looking for example, one survey was done by World Economic Forum back in 2023, a year ago, published in a report, The Future of Job, where they surveyed over 800 companies across 27 industries. To understand a bit more about what kind of jobs will be replaced by AI in the next 5 years. And according to their survey, they found that about 83 million jobs globally over the next 5 years are going to be expected to be displaced. Displaced is, of course, the word used in the report itself. At the same time, they are mentioning about 69 million new jobs roles are going to be created around that. What's your perspective?
Well, I believe AI is a tool for us humans and will continue to be a tool. I mean, it's not a coincidence that many of the systems are called co-pilot. So it is important for us to embrace the technology and use it. I remember the times when, in robotics, where the question was very prominent is robots will eat jobs and they will basically destroy, manufacturing jobs. What happened in reality is that, the customers who actually implement robots actually employ more employees. And today we have an average robots of 165 robots per 10,000 employees. 165 per 10,000. So the ratio is still very low. But we humans like to exaggerate and extrapolate that these, small numbers are eating the jobs. What happened today is that robots are coexistence with workers. We have robots that are called cobots. That means you can work with them and they enhance your productivity. AI will be the same. In the future, I would rather go to a doctor who uses he or she AI to help with the diagnosis as opposed to a doctor who doesn't use AI. Similar in other professions. So I believe it's going to be a tool. I think it's important for us to continue to educate ourselves, to stay on top. That's why we provide a lot of education for our colleagues across the company to make sure that we stay on top of it. Some of the jobs will change, but many of them will be enhanced. So I'm positive about the future using AI to enhance our productivity as humans.
Speaking of robotics, and we are seeing also recently online quite a lot of videos and demonstrations, I would maybe refer to him better, showing humanoid robots. And I think maybe the question on my mind is, when are we going to have a robot in my apartment doing the dishes for me, doing the hard work that, things that I might not want to do myself?
Well, that is a very interesting question. I think there's a lot of excitement at the moment on humanoids. Humanoids is basically the idea that you have AI and a robot put together, and suddenly you have a robot that acts like us, thinks like us. I believe that these kind of systems for commercial use are still far out. We will see robotics enhancing. But I don't believe that in the short term we will see these humanoids really replacing humans. Take this example of a dishwasher or emptying a dishwasher. And we're doing research now for decades this emptying of a dishwasher requires the most sophisticated techniques in robotics today that actually don't exist. Yes, you see some videos on the internet that a robot is doing that, but it does it once. Remember the PhD I've wrote how long it takes from a once it works to make it really industrial grade, that it's reliable, that the customers can rely on it, and so on. I think it's still a way to go. But the robots will be enhanced over time. They will be doing more and more autonomous work, and that is also good in manufacturing, because there are lots of areas in manufacturing where you will need robots, but they are not able to cope with an unstructured environment. So where AI really will help in the future.
I think we're talking about the future right now. What specific innovations do you foresee shaping the future of AI moving forward in an industrial environment?
So I believe that today we have existing technologies in AI that we actually did not utilize completely. So there's a lot we can still work on with existing technology. But where the technology is heading is, first of all, it's multimodal. So you will integrate text with videos, with pictures, and that merge will help us get more data absorbed, and then you see more and more development. And the other one is you will see more specialized large language models, which is the foundation of the generative AI. You'll have foundation models for medicine or other professions. You would have foundations models inside companies where you have the border of the company. That means that you can really retrieve information in a safe way, that you're secure, that you're not conveying any trade secrets or so on to the outside. Or you will have large language models who are actually small language models that we will call on the edge. So we'll see them on your iPhones, that you can basically use them offline. So the variations of large language models will change. Another trend will be agents. You will have smaller programs that do things for you. Today, when you enter something in a large language model, you get a prompt answer. But sometimes it's better, for example, I want to do a vacation somewhere, you get a prompt answer. But agents could go out and search for you, what is the weather today? What is the best route? What is the best food if you're interested, and so on. And these agents will come back and assemble for you. That's a trend that we have today. And then a last one would be, because we used all the information available in the internet today, now the future will be about creating synthetic data to train the models. We do that already in robotics, where we actually simulate in the background without really moving the robot, but there are simulations to find the best path, for example, that is all based on synthetic data. So these are trends that you will see evolving over time. Not all of them will prevail, but there's a lot of investments going into these areas.
For those of you who are joining us right now, we have quite a lot of hundreds of people who are watching us right now. We are speaking with Sami Atiya on the future of AI and how it's going to shape industries moving forward. I want to maybe address a few questions that I'm seeing in the chat, and I am just going to go over them. And I'm sorry if I'm not going to get to everyone today, because there's quite a lot of them. How can we ensure ethical decision making in AI systems, especially when they are trained on potential biased data? Is something we also see quite a lot of conversation about that.
Yes. I think in AI, we have to distinguish clearly between the commercial use of AI and the industrial use of AI. So this question tackles the commercial use of AI. And yes, depending on the data you have, the biases will be inherent in the system. It's like us humans. We've been trained as childs and as we grow up. If we have biases in our training data, we will act biased. And the same would be with the AI systems. Now, obviously, all the providers are very clear about that you need to adjust for that you have to train the system differently, that you have to cope with this. I think that's an area where we'll see a lot of rules and regulations also to make sure that we as individuals are protected. Now, when you have the other piece, which is industrial AI, I believe that we have enough regulations from the machinery directives and others that protect the machine. Take the example of the mobile robot. We don't need more regulations about that, because the robot anyhow has to stop, regardless of you have an AI system inside or not. There are other mechanisms. So basically, you have two safety mechanisms. One watches if there are humans around you, but that's not the one who decides to stop at the end. It's really the physical stop where you use a radar or a laser system. So that's how the systems today are managed. And I think that it is important not to over-regulate this area because it also tempers innovation as
Innovation,
well.
of course.
Yeah.
Sebastiano is asking, from your insights, what are the most promising AI opportunities for new startups entering the market today?
That's an interesting question. Well, we in ABB have a very modern way of looking at the AI. Maybe I'll give you just an insight, because we believe that we only will be innovative in an ecosystem. So we don't do everything our own. So we do every year, every second year, a startup challenge. So we asked to the outside world 3 questions. And we asked the startups to come in and answer these questions. This year it was about AI. A couple of years ago, it was about navigating robots, and that company, 7sense, actually answered, and it was the best one. We get hundreds of startups who do. So we have a good insight of what is out there. At the same time, I think there's a lot of applications. I mean, the application of retrieving data and cleaning up data. I think that's still an area where we talk about data analysis, but a lot of work goes into that cleanup of the data. The other one is where I believe there will be a lot going on is the interaction with robots. We have a great example where we have a human talking to a robot and actually giving instructions. I think the generative models will allow us to do more. I see more and more machines actually where machine builders are thinking about giving instructions to a machine that makes it the life of the worker simpler. In our robotics, we have now in our Shanghai factory, you can go in there and you can see a human talking to a robot and giving instruction, move a block from A to B, just with natural language. That could be an area of applications. But there's a lot that you can add, and we would be always interested to see these innovations. And sometimes we invest in the companies, sometimes we partner with them, so it's very exciting times.
I mean, there's a lot of questions whether or not this session is recorded. So yes, this session is recorded. You can watch it afterwards. Do not worry, it's going to be on our account, the same link you are watching it right now. There's a lot of comments about your cobots, what exactly they do. I think you answered it a bit. Interesting question. You might not be super relevant, but let me know if it's not. Could you share your views on how do you see the advancement of quantum computing contributing to accelerating AI?
Well, I think that today we are coming to a point where training the large language models takes a lot of energy, and we have, I think the version before had 175 billion parameters to be actually trained on. So you can imagine when now we go up to I've read that we are now thinking about 500 billion parameters. That means multiplication of matrices. It's a very complex operation. That's why you need these GPUs, the graphical processing units. It needs a lot of energy. So I think we will come to limits to what we can do with our compute today. So we will see more evolution in energy reduction there. That is important, and we in ABB are supporting that. And we have innovations for that, but we will also need special compute for that, and that's where we will see more and more advancement. For example, our computers today manage sequential computing, so one piece after the other. We need parallel computing because these large language models are basically parallel computers who just need to be adjusted in tiny little pieces. So we need more different type of compute for that. So I think we will come to a saturation, and then with new technologies, we will get to the next level of AI.
I see. Beatriz, ABB Robotics, by the way, she's asking personal question. Among all ABB AI projects, do you have anyone? What is your favorite, basically?
One favorite one. Well, the navigation of mobile robots is something really, I think, maybe because it was my PhD and I watched it over time, and I really, there was a lot of learning for me that, I thought it was solved. So we had a robot that actually navigated once or twice, and it worked 30 years ago. But until today, industry and research tried it, and it works now. So that one for me is really great because I see the benefit for the customers. We have companies like Michelin who use it in their factory, transport systems, and you can add robots, and they adjust and they talk to each other. So it's really AI at its best, and it's really enhancing productivity for our customers. And these examples really, make me very happy.
Like, interesting. Michelle is asking, maybe you touched it a bit before, but I'm actually also very interested to hear from you. What do you think the biggest challenges we're looking to solve in the next 5 to 10 years?
In AI or in
AI.
I think, first of all, I think that we have today, I think, a little bit exaggerated expectations. And I think we have a lot of technology today that needs to come to scale and to reality, and that we're still not there. And I think a lot of work will be just in grounding, these technologies to make them really work. For example, one of the holy grails of robotics was always the pick and place. It's using optical sensors to see something and to pick and place an object you have not seen before. That was 10 years, 20 years ago unsolved. Now we solve the problem. The technologies, the underlying ones, are actually the same, but you have to do a lot of groundwork using new computes, new vision systems and algorithms and so on. And I think we have a lot of these technologies that need to come to reality and be industrially available in terms of reliability and predictability. We will see a lot going into vision, using vision combined with AI. I think all these examples we have in marine, or having a lot of data coming from factories and systems like with our Genix. You get a lot of data. What do you do with all the data? For humans, we are overwhelmed with this number of data. So the systems can actually help us there, make them digestible. And now with the new Genix release, for example, they even create language out of it, or recommendations. I think, and now we see more and more of these examples coming true.
Maybe one of our last couple of questions, and we touched it a bit more at the beginning. What advice do you give companies to empower the employees with AI technologies?
Oh, I think that's a very, very important question. I think if I look at how we did it, but I see also other companies, I think you have to start somewhere, but don't start in headquarters. Start with your projects. And many companies I've talked to are surprised when they start scanning what is available. There are many, smart people in the company who are IT savvy, maybe AI savvy, that use our iPhones, that use a lot of new technologies, and then can create a lot of, value. So I think it starts that the company, embraces it, like we do in ABB. We all in the executive committee, we love technology. We love to promote it and so on, and we like to make sure that it creates value to the customers. So you have to have an AI champion. I think that's important as a company. Education, making sure that you demystify AI, that it's not something a black box, but it's a technology that can be used, and that employees feel comfortable, playing with it. We have a great example in ABB where a colleague in Germany, in the motors business, where you get these specifications. They could be 300 pages long, how to specify a large motor. The colleague and his colleagues came up with the idea: take it, put it in a generative AI system, and it basically creates a specification of the motor. You avoid reading 300 pages, and it gives you a good specification. It even creates, inconsistencies, discovers inconsistency in it. And that was an innovation that was created in the ground based on a specific need. And then we took the example and we promoted it. Now we have colleagues from Mexico asking, can they use it? Can they replicate it? And so on. I think making these examples visible for all encourages everybody to join. and then you create momentum around it.
Maybe we finish with, I see also quite a lot of questions about sustainability. And you have touched it a bit, but I think that it's important, I think, for some people to understand a bit more. Where do you think the points are where AI can help the agenda of sustainability?
Yes, I think AI can cope with massive amounts of data. Take weather forecasting, the marine example that we have, where we can actually reduce the consumption of energy based on multiple sources of complex information, like the route that the ship takes, the tilt, the weather forecast, consumption of the own energy, and then you put that all together. For a human, it's more complex to actually to make sense out of it. This is where AI is good at. Take the example of energy management of the building, where you can reduce up to 20% of energy consumption using AI. These amount of data that are difficult for us to cope is where AI is really at best. In robotics, we have more examples where we use robots, for example, for recycling, or creating combustible material that you can reuse and so on. So technology is really important for us to have a really great and sustainable future.
Okay, thank you very much, Sami. I think we are coming to our end. Sami Atiya, President of ABB Robotics and Discrete Automation Business. Thank you very much for taking the time today to speak with us. It was very insightful to hear from you. Please continue following us on our social media accounts, either ABB group account on robotics, to follow up for more news about ABB and robotic innovations, and robotic and AI innovations, of course. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sami. Thank you.